Mesa is getting more love again. What changed? She got an arcane adapter on her regulators. That's it? Pretty much. What's good, folks? It's Nightmare Frame here with a new Warframe video talking about upgrading your already strong Mesa loadouts. In this video, I will go over the pros and cons of Mesa with certain arcanes and how to manage proper consistency with her DPS. With the addition of the Arcane adapter, we also got Arcane Hot Shot. This got a lot of people's attention. So at max rank, it's 6% crit chance that goes up to 50 stacks. That's a 300% increase to your critical chance if your abilities can consistently apply heat. So if we take 5 orange Tau crit shards, which is a 375% crit chance increase at max stacks, plus 300% from Hot Shot, plus 200% from Creeping Bullseye, on Regulators, you get a 9.75 times crit chance increase, which gives Mesa a total of 243.75% crit chance on her Regulators, which is consistent oranges with a 43% chance to hit red crits. Now, if you're using the enhanced damage numbers, it will prioritize the higher critical tier, so this is why you'll see a lot of reds. Now, compare Arcane Avenger, which is a flat crit chance increase that is applied after all of your built-up critical increases. Will net you slightly lower in crit chance, and for consistency, you would need to run Combat Discipline. So, is this arcane justified? Yes, if you can consistently upkeep the heat application with your regulators and have an influx of enemies, meaning only good in dense areas or when fighting tanky enemies. Not to mention, Mesa is not a status applicator Warframe, which is a discussion that we need to go over now. Tip 1 for any Mesa players. If the enemy survives long enough for you to apply multiple procs, then you're not doing enough damage. Mesa is a raw DPS Warframe. There is no weeping wounds for guns, otherwise it will be broken. The things you have to sacrifice on your build to make a status build work on Mesa is just not worth it. This also brings up another topic, Archon continuity, alongside Cascadia Flare. One of them is good, one of them just don't bother. Archon continuity is a scam and a bait mod. Modding Toxin so you can proc corrosive is a bait for Mesa. You're losing out on actual damage. Building for straight up corrosive is going to do more damage. Even 2 60/60 mods is still going to do more damage than building Toxin to proc corrosive. Because if you're building for full corrosive, you don't need Toxin to proc corrosive. The average TTK on Toxin damage to proc corrosive was 2.60 seconds versus a 1.80 second TTK on a pure corrosive build. That means corrosive builds kill faster and straight up procs corrosive without a taxi. And you know what will do even more damage than just a pure corrosive build? If you build corrosive and heat, which synergize with one another. So if you were to fully lean into a status build, you're going to have to sacrifice raw elemental damage scaling, maybe other utilities that increase your DPS, which then sacrifices some crits to run other Archon Shards. But if that's how you like to play, then it's all good. But please do not say it's the best. Now, moving over to Cascadia Flare. This is a huge boost in damage, but there are a lot of caveats. One of them being sustainability. It does in fact increase your overall damage, but here are a few things to consider. You need to apply heat on a target for it to stack up. Enemies need to survive to get heat procced for you to get the damage bump. Because if they die before you apply a heat proc, then you don't get an increase to your damage. But that already means you're doing enough damage to kill them before they even get heat procced. This means Mesa either needs to have an increase to her status chance or a consistent source of heat priming. The damage buff duration on Cascadia Flare is 10 seconds and can be refreshed, but if you do not refresh it within that 10 seconds, you lose everything. It doesn't go down in increments. This means you need to have a constant influx of enemies or a tanky target for the arcane to shine on Mesa. Rejoice, Tenno, because there is an absolutely easy fix for this that doesn't require you to actually mod status chance on Mesa. You can use a Sentinel with Duplex Bond and mod your Sentinel weapon with heat, and this way you can more reliably apply heat without ruining your regulator build. TLDR, to to gain the full benefits of Cascadia Flare, you need to live and breathe in solo survival, do disruption, do higher level content to see higher level of enemies, or have a constant primer going off maintaining your buff. Enervate is straight up useless. It refreshes way too quick on Mesa to even see the benefits. Outburst is still great, but requires combo and melee and can be a hassle for a lot of players. Now the two best comfort picks. Remember, these are comfort picks for consistency on Mesa's Regulators are Fortifier and Merciless. Fortifier gives you Overguard, so additional survivability and instantly shreds Overguard. Merciless stacks up on kill, guaranteed. If you do lose one stack, you do not lose everything. So let's see how to build this Mesa loadout so you can optimize your damage. Alright, here we are, taking a look at what we build on our Mesa. For the Archon Shards, I'm using the full orange Tau Forge Shards. This gives me crit chance when you kill enemies affected by heat. Again, this is easily done, and this goes up to 375% crit chance. This is modded crit chance, meaning it is a multiplier to your base crit chance. For the Helminth, I'm going with Nourish. Nourish gives me the viral elemental damage. This is going to be a huge boost to our overall damage output, because elemental damage is part of the big three when it comes to your damage increases in every build. Nourish not only gives me the viral element, but it also grants me the energy multiplier. As you can see on the bottom right, I am going negative efficiency. With this loadout, I do not have to worry about energy or efficiency because of this Helminth. Before the Mesa build, let's take a look at the Regulators build so you can understand more on what we're going to go for, depending on what arcane you're going to use. This is, again, the only build, as you can see right there, and there's going to be 2 open slots, the arcane and 1 extra mod, which is going to be dependent on your load up and setup on what arcane that you will be using. Multi-shot, very important. Crit chance, crit damage, fire rates, very, very important. Corrosive and heat, large elemental damage multipliers right here. These are big boys. If you're going to be running Arcane Hot Shot, then you're going to be putting in Scorch right there as the final mod. This increases your heat damage and additional status chance to apply heat. I found this to be way more consistent. And funny enough, you do not need this for Cascadia Flare. But if you're not using Arcane Hot Shot, then you want to increase your damage even further. There are 2 ways to do that. You can increase your elemental damage by adding Magnetic over here. This also grants you some critical damage, which is not bad. The other thing I would suggest is Accelerated Isotopes. Not only does it give you radiation, but it also increases your fire rate. But if you want a larger boost to your fire rate, which is just faster attacks overall, then Gunslinger is going to be your best bet. Those are your options for this final slot right here. And if you're running Gunslinger and you're just chilling and you don't care about Cascadia Flare, well, you have Merciless. This is a 360% base damage increase to your guns. The reload speed doesn't matter. So, kill an enemy, you get an increase to your damage. Very simple. And of course, Fortify here steals Overguard from enemies and grants it to yourself, while also increasing the damage you deal to overguarded units. This is the comfort pick, just for survivability and people who want to chill. Cascadia Flare is also a base damage increase, but you have to consistently keep on applying heat status effects to maintain this buff, because once you lose it, it is gone. Okay, here we are taking a look at the Mesa build. For our first arcane, it's Arcane Velocity. This arcane is mandatory. You cannot swap this off, as this is one of the most consistent ways to up your DPS, because when you crit, you have a 90% chance to gain 120% fire rate. And that there alone is reason enough to not take this off, because your Regulators will just shoot faster. And now for the second arcane, you have 3 options. You of course have Arcane Hot Shot for the 300% crit chance at max stacks, if it's max rank that is. The other arcane is Molt Augmented. This just gives you 60% strength at 250 kills. Very nice. And then finally, you have Arcane Avenger. Arcane Avenger gives you a flat 45% crit chance when you take damage. This is easily achieved if you're using the aura Combat Discipline. Recommend to use a rank 1 Combat Discipline. And if you have Overguard, this also works on Overguard. So instead of health, you just lose Overguard stacks. Now, of course, if you're not using Avenger, the best aura to run is Corrosive Projection, as this is a minus armor to everything that has armor. For those thinking about running Pistol Amp, please don't do this. This is a base damage increase to your secondaries. Your Shooting Gallery has a 25% base damage increase. to all your guns. And with all the built-up strength that we're going to be getting and the other multipliers, this is insignificant for your increase. Now, for the Exilis, some people want to run Mesa's Waltz. I prefer not to because this is just slow and no need to do that. I can just jump around, shoot. That's why it's better to run a foot maxing mod. If you do not have this, use Handspring. Now let's go over our strength increases. Starting off with Blind Rage. This gives you 99% strength but takes away your efficiency. Have a look at our Peacemaker's Drain and Drain per second. That is going to go down from 23 seconds down to 10 seconds. Just wait and see. Transient Fortitude is our second strength increase. This gives us strength while taking away our duration. I have one more strength increase. As you can see, I do have an Umbral Polarity, so you can run an Umbral Intensify here. This will give you a very balanced strength for both your Nourish and your Peacemaker. However, I'll be running Precision Intensify instead, as this gives me 90% strength increase on my Peacemaker. So my Peacemaker's damage multiplier goes up to 5.16, which is a very substantial boost. Now, let's go over our duration. I will be running Narrow-Minded. This does reduce your range, so Shooting Gallery will not be of use, but don't worry about that, as you won't need it. It's just here to give you some additional base damage. As you can see with our strength increases, we have 63.5%, so that Pistol Lamp was pretty much useless. And I'll be adding another duration modifier with Primed Continuity. Now I have 227%. This took down my drain from 20 plus down to 10.26. And with 254% strength, I get a 114% viral damage increase and a 2.5 times energy multiplier. Now we're left with 3 slots, 2 dashes, which is going to be for Prime Flow, increasing my energy pool, and Equilibrium for the energy and health orb conversion. And the last slot is going to be for my survivability. I'll be adding Rolling Guard here. Do a dodge roll and become invulnerable and cleanse yourself of all status effects. If you're running Fortifier, this is still useful, because if your shields do break, then this is nice to have. Now I'm going to demonstrate my comfort pick Arcane over here. Instead of Hot Shot or Avenger, I'll be running Molt Augmented, just further boosting my damage. This is what I like to run, and this is going to greatly increase my viral damage multiplier and my Peacemaker's damage, which means I won't have to run Cascadia Flare, and in fact, I'll be running Secondary Fortifier instead, just for some added survivability, because I will have more than enough damage. Our melee weapon is actually going to increase our DPS, and why is that? First, you need a Furex. Does it matter what Furex? No, it doesn't. All you need is a Furex and this mod, Amalgam Furex Body Count, because, as it states right there on the top line, 45% fire rate for secondary weapons. And what is our Regulators? Secondary weapons. For my companion, it's the Worm Prime. This is one of the best companions out there. Survivability with Guardian, refreshing my shields instantly, negates to cleanse me of any status effects if I do get them. This is prior to me getting overshields, and if my overshields do break, this is going to be nice to have, because depending on the mission, you're not always going to have Overguard. Duplex Bond here, so it can split up and prime enemies with heat. This is going to be nice to stack up my Archon Shards. And over here, I have Reinforced Bond and Tenacious Bond. Both of these increase my damage. If my companion has 1,200 shields, I get 60% fire rate, more DPS. And this grants me crit damage if my companion has more than 50% crit chance. For the weapon, I'll be using Burst Laser Prime. This is a secondary which has decent crit chance, and I can use it to prime the enemies. Not only that, because it's a secondary, I can run the Augur mods. Right here it has Corrosive Heat and the crit chance increase and the crit chance, so it's over 50%. So right now, you can see my companion going out there proccing heat on these Xmas units. I can burst through their Overguard and easily get Overguard for myself. Just like that. And as you can see, we're doing pretty decent damage, and we haven't fully stacked up our crit chance from the Talfort shards. But once we stack them up, we're doing quite a bit of damage. So this is my personal comfort playstyle, and you can use any of the prior suggestions to suit your playstyle. Alright folks, that has been it for me. I do hope you enjoyed and learned something from this video. And if you did, please feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, a peace. Bye-bye now. Bye. Look at this one shot. I don't even have to worry about any damage. I'm chilling. Literally the most comfortable Mesa build you could ever play right now. Don't forget to share it to your friends.